For me, life after high school has been honestly one of the most eye-opening transitions I've gone through so far in my life, as there's already been many big and little changes. For a bit of context, I'm 20 years old, just wrapped up my second year of university, and even though high school was only 2 years ago, I already feel like I've changed and learned so much, not only about myself, but just life in general and how I see things. And I wanted to make this video just to talk about that. I don't have some expert perspective or like I've got life all figured out, but I'm just someone who's been reflecting and learning as I go, as I'm still super young, and there's been a lot of things that I feel like I've already gone through that I think are worth sharing and helping people out who are in the same boat as me. To start off, one of the most obvious but I think overlooked things is the expectations versus reality of your life after high school. Now, for me personally, this wasn't a huge big deal, but I've definitely seen it affect a lot of people that I know and some friends that I have close to myself. There's this idea that once you're done high school, all your previous responsibility in life is thrown out the window. And yeah, there is some truth to that if you decide to live that way. The reality is, you do get more freedom and you have the ability to make your own decisions, but that also means you're responsible for those decisions not only right now in the present, but also in the future. And I think that a lot of people really just get stuck in this honeymoon phase of finally being done school, and then they just decide to coast and chill and not really do much with their time or really have any goals or aspirations. And to be honest, these people don't snap out of that mindset until they're in their late 20s or even 30s. And by then, you're dealing with problems that could have been avoided if they just took a couple steps back and really focused in on their early 20s and made different decisions during that time to help better themselves and better their future. Now, I'm not saying to not enjoy life, especially at your young age where you have more access to do some fun things. But you do also have to realize that this is one of the best times in your life to take risks, build habits, and really lay a groundwork for your future and give yourself some stability when you enter your 30s. The earlier you start locking in, the more freedom and stability you'll have later. And you don't want to be scrambling in your 30s because you spend your early 20s avoiding locking in. For me personally, I have already seen this starting to happen with some of my friends, but on a smaller scale. And with my friends, it's usually about working out and having a routine. They always ask me, oh, what do you do? How do you lock in? How do you have such a good routine? How do you go to the gym every day? And really, I don't really have a set thing to tell them all other than the fact that I've just been doing it for so long. For me, I've started working out when I was 16 in high school, and I really built that habit ever since then. And I made it a non-negotiable to always hit the gym and exercise and make sure my health is where I want it to be. And by doing that during high school when I had less responsibility, I've been able to keep that up throughout my life and while I entered university where I had more responsibility and less time. Now for my friends, they didn't take that route. They weren't proactive in high school, and now when they're at that stage in their life where they want to look better, they want to feel better, they want to be more healthy, they're not able to build that habit and build that routine because they have so many other things that they have to worry about, and they feel like it's impossible, when in fact if you're just proactive enough and really take the time to lock in and have your priorities set straight, I feel like you can really achieve what you want to achieve in that aspect. Now, I don't want to get too sidetracked with talking about the gym because that's another video I want to do about habits and stuff, but so I'll go on to the next point, which is I feel like another big challenge that people face after high school is figuring out what kind of path they want to go down and what they really want to do for their career. And from people I've seen and some of my friends, they didn't really know what they wanted to do. They didn't know if going to university was the right thing for them. They didn't know if they should join the trades, or they didn't even know, maybe they were even considering a gap year because they weren't sure about what they wanted to do. Now, from what I've seen from different people who have taken every path, the truth is there isn't a right single path. And honestly, what matters most is that you actually take the time to think about what you want to do, what kind of life you want to build, and what matters the most to you. And obviously you have to think about money because you have to have stability, of course. But with that all being said, just take the time, take a step back and think about what really matters to you. It doesn't really matter what other people think you should do, or you might be receiving pressure from other people nudging you towards a certain type of career or path that they think you should take. But as long as you feel that is right in your gut and that is something you can see yourself doing long term, that's the correct path. And no one else can tell you that it's the incorrect path, because everyone's path is different and there's no right answer. Now, like I said before, money matters, and obviously you need some sort of level of stability. So even if your dream job is not something that can give you that stability right away, that's okay. I feel like people think that they really need to do something that's extraordinary and super risky right out the gate, when in fact you don't really have to do that. That can be something you build on the side, or a backup plan, and something that you can maybe dream towards doing one day. You don't necessarily have to do that now. And that's really why they call it, like, making sure you do your 5 to 9, you have something that you're doing during that time after your 9 to 5, because that's some extra time that you can be doing towards something that you're really passionate about or really want to do one day. So the last kind of point and topic I kind of wanted to bring up about just your life after high school has to do with, it's kind of 3 things: social media, your mental health, and just finding yourself and in your own purpose and what you want to do in your life. And although a lot of people already think about this and know how toxic social media can be and how you just got to stay in your own lane and don't listen or compare yourself to anyone else, in reality it's harder to do, and a lot of people feel like they're falling behind when they see other people on social media seemingly do better than they really are, when in 99% of the scenarios that's not even the case. And speaking from experience, if I'm being honest, this kind of constant comparison with people on social media really does screw with your mental health, as it kills your motivation, questions your own path, and even if you were confident beforehand with what you were doing, it can totally throw you off and make you not feel confident and make you think that what you're doing is wrong and that you're not good enough. And this plays a huge role when it comes to finding yourself after high school, because you go from structure, classes, bells, teachers, going to class, schedules, to complete freedom. And at first this feels amazing, as I mentioned before, until it doesn't. You wake up without a plan, trying to feel productive, but you go on social media, see all these amazing things, and you feel like you're not doing enough. And it can really wear you down, and you start to feel lost and that you're not on track and that you're really falling behind. So really what I've started to learn throughout these past 2 years after high school and entering university is kind of this unstructured scenario that you find yourself in, this kind of what am I doing space, is actually where you start to figure out who you are and what you really want to do and where you start to grow. It's during this process that you're actually allowed to change, and if you give yourself the ability to change and you actually do some self-reflection, you're allowed to change your mind and really better yourself for the future. Even in scenarios where you may have picked a certain major or gone down a certain path, or even if you're in the future and you picked a certain job, it doesn't mean you're stuck. You're always going to evolve, your interests, values, and goals will shift, and those changes in your life will help you become who you're really meant to be. And for me and myself, in order to really find out who I want to be and where I'm striving to be currently right now, as I go through my life and enter my 3rd year of university, is the biggest thing is you have to stop comparing. Everyone's timeline is different, as some people find success very early, some people build it slowly, and a lot of people build it quietly and you don't even know. But at the end of the day, none of that matters. What matters is just showing up for yourself consistently, and even on the off days. There's no need to be perfect, and you just need to keep going. And it's through this process and through all this progress you're making and through a lot of changing dynamics within your own personal life as you start to grow, this is where social media plays a negative role, as you're constantly being fed all these amazing, or all these, as I should say, all these people's lives that seem to be amazing, when in reality it's just a highlight reel, and you compare it to your everyday life where you're doing regular day things, and that can really throw you off your own path. And it's really important to kind of shut that off, or at least at a very minimum moderate it and minimize the amount of social media you actually use, as it can really be a huge detriment to your life. So yeah, I mean, that's just my take and a few key points on life after high school, and at least some things I've been thinking about for where I am right now in my life and on my journey through my 20s. And just off a closing note, if you feel like you're in this weird in between space or feeling stuck, unsure, or like you're not doing enough, just know that you're not alone. I feel like anyone in between ages 18 to 22, like you may be feeling like this, and it's not weird, it's not wrong to feel like this. It's pretty normal in this day and age, and I feel like just realize that you're not alone, and if you're willing to face this feeling and this situation head on, that's really where the magic happens and where you can really build something great for your future and for the rest of your life. So yeah, I appreciate for whoever's listening, and yeah, thank you.